thunder swallowed the coast as the mansion exhaled smoke and secrets. The crystal hall hummed with alarms that hadn't started yet. Alex Marino said, "Silence is a lie that always breaks." A door sighed, and velvet shadows peeled back. A single breath loaded the room like a chambered round. Don Raphael's study smelled of cologne and gun oil. A muzzle bloomed, and the wall learned a red language. Alex said, "This wasn't supposed to be tonight." The body folded, heavy as a verdict. A phone lit the rug like a fallen star. Someone typed, "It's done. The king is dead." The message flew while the blood kept its promise. Alex said, "If the king was only a crown, who wears the skull?" Footsteps retreated, measured and calm. A storm rolled its knuckles across the windows. Far off, tires bit gravel like hungry teeth. The mansion remembered every scream it had swallowed. Alex said, "Justice isn't blind here, it's bought and sedated." He pocketed his fear and left it to drown in velvet light. Dawn did not arrive. It negotiated a truce with the storm. Alex walked the corridor, trying not to remember the weight of silence. Maya Torres said, "Your hands are shaking." He hid them in his pockets. A maid screamed 2 floors down, and the sound felt rehearsed. Alex said, "This place feeds on echoes." He saw the smear where the phone had glowed. The message still burned at the back of his eyes. Maya said, "If the king is dead, someone paid for the crown." He hated how true it sounded. Every portrait watched him like a lone shark. The carpet gave back heat as if the crime still breathed. Maya said, "We need to move before the wolves start assigning blame." Alex nodded and lied to his pulse. He told it they were just guests at a party. The storm tapped the glass like a detective with a warrant. Somewhere, a camera blinked awake and chose a side. The study had become a shrine to bad decisions. Alex traced the ledger with a glove, feeling grooves like scars. Maya said, "Numbers don't bleed, but they confess." He found shipping codes that looked like obituaries. A safe hid behind a painting of hunted stags. Alex said he loved trophies that didn't run. The lock surrendered to a practiced sigh. Inside lay passports, burner phones, and a silver key. Maya said, "Keys promise doors and doors promise traps." Alex pocketed the key and a name cut into metal. The letters spelled a city he had sworn to forget. He closed the safe as if tucking in a corpse. Maya said, "You're thinking about her." He swallowed the ghost and let it scratch anyway. Outside, sirens finally remembered their job, late and hungry. Cops swarmed like crows, pretending to be priests. Alex stood by the window while uniforms photographed grief into files. "And so we anda." Detective Hargrove said, "You two were on site when it happened." Maya smiled the way gamblers fold with style. Alex said, "We heard a noise and came to help." The lie tasted of copper and old rain. Hargrove circled, sniffing the air for motive. He found only polish and money. Maya said, "You'll find prints, but not the ones that matter." A tech bagged the casing like a relic. Alex watched the tide darken beyond the cliffs. He imagined a crown sinking where no one could claim it. Hargrove said, "No one's leaving town." Alex nodded and let the hook set. He felt the line tighten, pulling him toward a deeper water. The storm signed its last page across the sea. The mansion emptied, but its heartbeat stayed. Alex lingered on the terrace where the ocean chewed at the cliff. Maya said, "You're not just chasing a killer." He kept his eyes on the horizon that never answered. Alex said, "I'm chasing a pattern that wears a family name." The wind tugged at his coat like an impatient friend. Maya said, "Patterns lead to machines, and machines crush bones." He thought of Sophia, and how she could read a room like scripture. Alex said, "If the crown was theater, who sold the tickets?" Gulls mapped the sky like bad omens. The phone vibrated with a message that had no sender. It read, "Come home and bring penance." Alex said, "Home is where the knives remember you." He slipped the silver key against his palm until it hurt enough to feel real. The family restaurant hid its sins behind garlic and neon. Alex sat in the back room where laughter died. Sophia said, "You came when I called." He nodded and read the bruise in her smile. Maya said, "The house wants answers, not grief." A clock ticked like a metronome for threats. Sophia said, "The council will crown whoever feeds them a killer." Alex tasted the word and hated how it fit. Dante stepped from the kitchen door like a verdict. Dante Cruz said, "Names clear storms." His gaze hammered the table nails. Alex said, "Names bury witnesses." Maya studied the exits and found none that were clean. Sophia said, "Bloodline buys mercy, only once." The room breathed in, then held. Alex said, "We follow the ledger to San Judas." The neon flickered like a lie rehearsing its alibi. The garage smelled of oil and debts. Alex faced Dante between pillars painted with shadows. Dante Cruz said, "You will point me at a throat." Alex said, "Point yourself at the truth." Tires hissed on wet concrete like snakes warning. Dante's hands were quiet until they weren't. Dante Cruz said, "Truth is a currency that inflates." Alex remembered the phone glow and the cold ledger math. Maya said, "He gives nothing without teeth." Dante studied her and counted weapons that were only words. Alex said, "The killer wanted a coronation, not chaos." The echoes stacked like bodies. Dante Cruz said, "Bring me a crown or bring me a head." The elevator sighed down like a weary judge. Alex said, "You will have a door. I won't promise what's behind it." The pawn shop buzzed with broken dreams and fluorescent hung by day. Maya flipped the ledger like a knife that read. Elliot Chan said, "I keep small sins, not royal funerals." Alex said, "Your receipts disagree." Neon wrote scars across the glass cases. Maya said, "Tell us how San Judas launders ghosts." Elliot's pulse tapped in his eyelid. Elliot Chan said, "Containers move on prayers and bribes." Alex heard the city name scrape his ribs. Maya said, "Give us a key or we change the lock on your life." Elliot's breath fogged his glasses like a confession booth. Alex said, "One shipment tonight at Pier 11. Elliot nodded and threw silence onto the scale. The register dinged like a bell for the condemned. The church held its breath like a safe with a secret. Candles painted wounds on stone. Sophia said, "You always choose storms over shelters." Alex said, "Shelters charge interest." Stained glass broke the night into debts of color. Sophia said, "Walk away from San Judas and live." He heard the old lullaby under the threat. Maya watched from the side aisle, counting exits again. Alex said, "If I walk, men like Dante write history." A bell tolled for someone still alive. Sophia said, "Then be smarter than your anger." He stepped closer and found the distance had teeth. Alex said, "Tell me who eats from the council's hand." She looked at the altar like it could lie for her. Fog coiled over the docks like patient rope. Containers stacked into a skyline of secrets. Maya said, "Pier 11 breathes heavy tonight." Alex said, "Heavy means guarded." A forklift whined like a warning siren. Dante Cruz said, "Clocks ticking," from a catwalk above. Alex felt the silver key burn against his palm. Maya said, "We open one door, not all of them." He nodded and picked the lock with borrowed courage. The container sighed like a confession. Inside, crates wore diplomatic seals like halos. Alex said, "This isn't smuggling, it's policy." A red dot dragged across metal near his heart. Maya said, "Move." Bullets argued with the fog, and the night took notes. San Judas greeted them with heat that tasted of diesel and limes. Neon saints blinked above pawned halos and tired bars. Maya said, "Your city never sleeps, it only blinks." Alex mapped old scars onto new streets. A stray dog led them past a mural stitched with bullet holes. Alex said, This is where favors become mortgages. The silver key pressed a bruise into his palm. Maya said, "We need the door it belongs to, not the legend." They checked into a motel, with beds that remembered fugitives. Ceiling fans beat slow confessions into the plaster. Alex said, "My past rents every room here." A payphone rang with no coins inside. He lifted the receiver and found breath instead of a voice. The line cut, leaving a tone like a flat line. Maya said, "Ghosts call when they want company." He hung up and pocketed the dial tone. They climbed a stairwell that smelled like rain and laundry soap. I'd cried, and I'd showed, now to. The door to Alex's childhood apartment stuck, then forgave. Sophia said, "You left the light on for 14 years. Dust floated like a family of slow planets." Alex said, "I thought the sun would pay the bill." Her act photo showed 2 kids daring the camera to blink. Sophia said, "Don Rafael kept us safe until he kept us." The key scraped the table like a small storm. Maya said, "You kept the city, not the truth." A music box clicked and sighed out a lullaby with sharp edges. Reporting dying, unspool indeed. Alex said, "Someone wound this today." Sophia watched the window instead of him. She said, "The council meets at the Sable Rooms." He tasted the name and felt a wire tighten. Maya said, "Then we are late by design." The Sable Rooms hid behind velvet and polite doormen. A jazz trio stitched alibus between glasses. Maya said, "Everyone here smells like a sealed envelope." Alex measured exits, guards, and angles. Sophia said, "Smile like the bill is already paid." The key matched a brass elevator with no buttons. Alex said, "The door chooses the floor." The lift slid down like a whisper falling. A private hall held portraits that watched with old money. Maya said, "We are walking on contracts." A room opened onto a round table with empty chairs. A single place card read his surname in an elegant threat. Alex said, "They planned my attendance." A projector flickered to life and showed the dock footage. Sophia said, "They film sins to sell forgiveness." Dante waited inside the conference room like a locked knife. Dante Cruz said, "Council is late because they enjoy entrances." Alex said, "Or exits." The projector froze on his face beside the open container. Maya said, "We need names, not theater." Dante's eyes held a storm that hadn't chosen a coast. Dante Cruz said, "San Judas moves under a charity called Illuminating." The words tasted antiseptic. Alex said, "Clean money washes dirty hands." Sophia's gaze flickered when the foundation's crest appeared. Maya said, "You knew." Sophia said, "I knew the donors, not the debts." Dante Cruz said, "Bring me proof, and I burn the altar." Alex felt the floor tilt as if the building stood on a wake. He said, "Then we drown the choir first." They left by a service corridor that smelled like overripe wine. A cart drifted across their path without pushing hands. Maya said, "Ambush math checks out." The first shot chewed plaster near Alex's ear. Dante Cruz said, "Left." They cut through a kitchen where pans screamed. Alex said, "Stairs." Fire doors punched their shoulders. Sophia said, "Roof is a bad sermon." They burst into warm night and helicopter breath. A drone snouted the skyline with a red eye. Maya said, "They are herding, not hunting." Dante's pistol coughed, and the drone fell like a dead star. Alex said, "They want us below." An alley yawned open like a throat waiting for a name. He gripped the key and thought of the lock it kept refusing. The alley swallowed the hotel's glitter and gave back rot and steam. Maya said, "We lost the sky, so we steal the ground." Dante checked a bruise like it owed him rent. Alex said, "Lumen-tide moves through the Freeport tonight." Sophia watched the street and didn't blink. She said, "A donor dinner covers a shipment window." Sirens stitched a crooked line a district away. Alex said, "We need proof that sings in court and screams in alleys." Dante Cruz said, "Proof is a bullet that keeps receipts." A stray scooter buzzed past like a lazy hornet. Maya said, "Freeport Logistics Hub, then the donor floor." The silver key burned a map into Alex's palm. He said, "We cut the artery and make the heart confess." Sophia's phone lit and died, like a truth reconsidering. Dante nodded once, as if blessing a crime and its cleanup. The Freeport wore respectability like a borrowed suit. Cranes clicked rosaries against the fog. Maya said, "Customs cameras cycle every 40 seconds. Dante cut a fence that already wanted to fall. Alex said, "Aid crates with saints on the lids." A forklift drifted by like a distracted shark. Sophia said, "Donors fund miracles that never ship." They slipped into a warehouse where pallets glowed with barcodes. Maya said, "Server closet, then bill of lading." Alex found a rack, humming like nerves. He cloned drives while Dante watched the door. Dante Cruz said, "We harvest and burn." A guard turned the corner and lost his courage. Sophia said, "Walk away and keep your breath." The clone finished with a soft chime that felt like thunder. Alex said, "Now the gala pays for the lights." They traded shadows for cold light at a meat plant. Hooks dangled like punctuation, waiting for sentences. Dante Cruz said, "Rossi's crew wants tribute or blood." Alex said, "They get data or smoke." Maya held the clone like a fragile detonator. The floor sweated, and the walls remembered winter. Sophia said, "Speak fast and keep your hands visible." A lieutenant smiled with a mouth that borrowed knives. Alex said, "Lumentide launders your wars and bills the city." The room answered with safeties clicking off. Maya said, "Ceasefire buys you names." A shot chewed the rail and all the math changed. Dante shoved Alex behind a pillar and returned fire like a metronome. Sophia dragged a crate to shield Maya's legs. Alex said, "We keep the drive and the pulse." The crew broke first, pride leaking into the drains. The gala unrolled like silk over a bruise. Chandeliers pretended the city had no alleys. Maya said, "We light their screens with their ledger." Alex wore a suit that felt like a borrowed name. Sophia said, "I have access from an old favor." Dante Cruz said, "Security counts faces, not souls." A quartet poured money into the air as polite sound. Maya slid the drive into a media port near the stage. The main wall flickered and coughed paragraphs of cargo. Alex said, "Let them read their saints." The lights died like an admission. Private guards flowed from doors with silent fury. Sophia said, "Power cut was not mine." Alex grabbed her wrist and saw fear that looked practiced. Dante crushed a guard's radio and carved a path. Maya said, "Exit through the service lift before the spin begins." The safe house smelled of coffee that had lost the argument. A window was open that shouldn't exist. Maya said, "We were expected." The corkboard wore red thread like a rash. Dante Cruz said, "Who sells us for spare parts?" Alex checked the floor and found ash that wasn't theirs. Sophia said, "Someone mirrored the drive before we did." A timer blinked beneath the desk like a lazy eye. Maya said, "Not a bomb, a beacon." Tires whispered outside in disciplined pairs. Alex said, "We leave nothing but confusion." Dante snapped the board free and stuffed it into a duffel. Sophia killed the beacon and flinched at her reflection. Alex said, "War starts at midnight, so we start first." The door sighed as if relieved to see them go. Sirens rose again, this time spelling names. Orchid Tower rose like a blade over San Judas, glass skin flashing every siren's light. Alex said, "Vaults on the 62nd floor." Maya studied the lobby cameras as if they were chess pieces. Dante Cruz said, "Guards breathe in threes, we move on the fourth." The elevator hummed with polite menace. Sophia said, "My access still works." She slid a card with hands too steady. Alex felt suspicion coil but buried it. The corridor whispered, money and marble. Maya said, server vault is dressed like a temple. The key clicked, too loud in his hand. Lights fell on rows of servers glowing like altars. Alex said, we're trespassers in a church of numbers. The air grew colder, as if already judging them. The vault swallowed sound until every breath felt guilty. Maya pulled cables, cloning the drives like veins into a heart. Dante Cruz said, too quiet. His hand hovered on steel. Alex said, quiet is never mercy. Sophia lingered by a panel with a keyhole none of them had seen. She said, this lock doesn't belong here. Alex frowned at her calm. The clone beeped finished, a fragile chime. Maya said, we walk out clean. Alarms screamed instead, red flooding the room. Sophia didn't flinch. Alex said, you knew. She smiled as if rehearsed. Sophia said, I lit the fuse long before you struck the match. A glass atrium yawned above the vault, night pressing against the ceiling panes. Sophia stepped forward, pistol steady. She said, every move you made, I placed first. Alex's stomach turned as if the floor tilted. Maya said, family doesn't sell blood. Sophia said, blood sells itself when the bid is high enough. Dante Cruz growled low, shoulders squared. Alex said, Don Rafael's death was your coronation. She didn't deny it. Sophia said, the directorate writes history, I deliver the ink. Alex saw the ghost of the girl who once defended him. It made the betrayal heavier, sharper, unshakable. The screen behind Sophia flickered to life, shadows curving into a face hidden in grain. A voice said, I am the benefactor. Every syllable carried governments and graves. Alex said, you pull the strings, then bury the puppets. The benefactor said, I offer you survival and command. Maya spat, you offer chains wrapped in silk. Sophia said, their reach makes the council look like beggars. Dante Cruz said, you ask loyalty, you get led. The screen showed maps, ports, ministers' signatures. Alex felt the weight of global rot pressing on his chest. The benefactor said, choose. Crown or corpse. The silence after was a wound. The first shot came from Sophia's gun, glass shattering into rain. Alex dove, rage and grief in equal measure. Maya shouted, cover, and fired back. Dante Cruz moved like steel, cutting the distance. Sophia's words carried through gunfire. She said, I built this empire to burn it. Alex shouted, you burned us first. Sparks lit the marble. Alarms cried louder. A final burst threw Sophia back against the projection wall. Blood traced her lips, but she smiled. Sophia said, the directorate still wins. Her pistol clattered like a gavel. Silence dragged its feet over the ruin. Alex stood, hollow, drive clenched, heart broken. The estate at La Espera glowed like a crown in exile, its gates whispering wealth, its gardens sharpened into weapons of beauty. Alex said, this is where the benefactor hides his throne. Maya checked her rifle case and replied, every empire dies in its own palace. Dante Cruz rolled his shoulders, scars creaking like old doors. He said, inside are soldiers paid to never ask why. The moon was fat and white, pouring judgment over marble paths. Alex felt the key grow heavier, a curse that insisted on unlocking the wrong doors. Maya said, one path leads to proof, the other to graves. Alex whispered, then we walk both. The walls shone with security lights that blinked like heartbeats. Sophia's ghost flickered in Alex's mind, smiling with betrayal and blood. He clenched the drive, whispering, tonight we end more than a family name. Dante loaded his pistol, the click louder than the wind. Inside, chandeliers dripped gold while guards moved like wolves beneath. Alex whispered, a palace that smells like gun oil isn't a palace. Maya said, it's a trap disguised as heritage. Dante scanned every corner and muttered, they've rehearsed this dance. They slipped into a hall lined with portraits, whose eyes tracked rebellion. Alex said, "These walls are paper with bullets behind them." The guard turned, saw too much, then saw nothing. Maya hissed, "Downstairs. Data vault under the wine cellar." The marble steps creaked like confessions. Alex gripped the drive tighter, feeling destiny choke him. Dante said, "Benefactor's ghosts wait at the bottom." The lights above flickered, one by one, like the house itself was counting down. Alex said, "Then let it count me last." The cellar's cold hit them like a grave's breath. Servers hummed among barrels of vintage lies. Maya said, "They age secrets better than wine." Alex slotted the drive and watched numbers pour like blood from an opened vein. Dante said, "Evidence enough to sink nations." But the screens blinked alive with a new feed. Sophia's face, recorded before her fall. She said, "Family was never loyalty, only leverage." Alex's chest cracked with fury and grief. Maya gritted her teeth, whispering she knew would end here. Sophia's voice continued, "The benefactor owns your silence." Alex spat, "Then let's make noise instead." He yanked cables free as alarms shrieked, drowning out her ghost. Dante drew his gun and said, "They're already here." The guards stormed in, rifles raised, but Dante was thunder in human shape. Bullets tore chandeliers of dust from the cellar arches. Maya yelled, "Cover right," and fire stitched across barrels. Alex fought like a man carrying ghosts, his shots punching echoes into stone. Dante roared, "Push forward," as he slammed a guard into a rack. Sparks lit the vault like a second sunrise. Maya said, "We hold until the transfer is done." Alex snarled, "No, tonight we finish this." He spotted a mirrored door in the back, hidden until the alarms revealed it. He ran, silver key burning hot in his grip. Maya shouted, "Alex, wait!" but the key had already chosen. The door unlocked with a sound like finality. The mirrored door revealed a private sanctum, walls lined with maps of trade routes and signatures of presidents. In the center sat the benefactor, old but unbroken, a smile cut from stone. He said, "Welcome, heir of ruin." Alex leveled his pistol, every betrayal dripping into his trigger finger. Maya stepped in, rifle steady, and whispered, "This is bigger than bullets." Dante limped through, bleeding but upright, growling, "End him." The benefactor said, "Kill me and 1,000 more rise." Alex said, "Then I'll end the myth, not just the man." He raised the drive high, preparing to upload everything into the estate's exposed lines. The benefactor laughed, low and final. Truth is a weapon that kills its wielder first. Alex pulled the trigger anyway, deciding both fates at once. The sanctum burned behind them, flames eating treaties and lies alike. Alex staggered into the night, smoke carving his lungs. Maya said, "We exposed them, but the city will still choose silence." Dante limped beside her, jaw locked against pain, muttering, "Silence is still a weapon." The estate groaned like an empire collapsing under its own weight. Alex said, "Truth will spread. The fire is already in the wires." Sirens bled into the distance, red and blue painting their faces. Maya's eyes hardened. "They'll hunt us now, not them." Dante wiped blood from his mouth and growled, "Let them try." Alex stared at the horizon, hollow but unbroken. He whispered, "The crown is ashes. The ghosts remain." A single gunshot echoed in the distance, no target, only a warning from the void. They reached the coast where waves slammed against black rocks, carrying the weight of endings. Maya said, "This isn't victory. It's survival dressed in scars." Alex touched the silver key, now bent and useless, and whispered, "Every lock I opened led to another grave." Dante's voice was gravel. "We killed their king, but the empire has many thrones." The ocean spat salt into their wounds, demanding payment. Maya said, "Then we fight shadows until the shadows swallow us." Alex closed his eyes, Sophia's voice still lingering like smoke. He said, "Family was a word I mistook for faith." Dante looked toward the horizon, muttering, "Faith is for graves, not for soldiers." Lightning split the clouds, and the storm returned to crown the sea. At a safe house on the city's edge, the air reeked of coffee and cordite. Maya spread newspapers across the table, each headline twisted by propaganda.ai. "They call us traitors," she said. Alex scanned the lies, whispering, "They always bury truth under noise." Dante slammed a knife into the map, pinning San Judas to the wood. "We cut deeper. Make the world choke on evidence." Maya frowned. "The directorate will bury us before that happens." Alex's eyes burned with grief. "Then we become the fire no water can drown." He clutched the drive like a relic. "If I die, make sure it screams louder than me." Maya met his gaze, steady and unyielding. "We already lit the fuse." Dante growled. "Now we watch who burns first." The city stirred at dawn, indifferent to the war in its veins. Streets glistened with rain, children chasing buses as if blood never stained the asphalt. Alex walked among them, a ghost in plain sight. Maya whispered, "Do they know what we burned for them?" Dante answered, "They don't want to know." Alex stopped at a newsstand, headlines screaming of stability, never truth. He said, "History belongs to whoever bleeds less." Maya's eyes softened briefly. "And yet, you still fight." Alex looked at the children and said, "Because someone must." The rain kissed his face like forgiveness he hadn't earned. Dante muttered, "Forgiveness is a language I don't speak." The city swallowed them again, faceless among its millions. Night fell again, darker than memory, as Alex walked alone across the ruins of La Espera. His boots crushed ash and broken glass. The phone in his pocket rang, shrill against the silence. He answered, but heard only breathing. Then a voice whispered, "It isn't over." He closed his eyes, the ocean wind cutting him open. Maya was gone to bury the drive, Dante hunting ghosts in alleys, but Alex carried the weight alone. He whispered, "War never ends. It mutates." The ruins glowed faintly with embers, as if mocking his survival. He walked toward the cliff, his shadow stretching too long. Lightning split the sky again, and the call cut off, leaving silence that sounded like a beginning.